Remember, knowledge, it ain't free. You got to pay attention.
Go.
It's simplification and Javier.
There's a lot of ways to handicap a horse race and a lot of ways to bet on it. But nobody that I know does it like Gio Setti and his full card, precise order handicap. Every horse in the race gets a predicted order of finish like only Gio can do, way beyond a deep dive, available exclusively on select days at Past the Wire. Remember, blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family.
Hey, Sure Bet Coffee. Put that giddy up in your cup. That giddy up in your cup. Sure Bet Coffee.
The legend himself, Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie. Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, presented by Am Wager.
Tracking trips at Past the Wire. There is no better time than now to join and ride with this claim. We'll be your second set of expert trained eyes. We ain't gonna buy you a fish. Sure, we'll give you some, but more importantly, we'll show you how to fish and make you a better better. CAWs, sharks in the water, no problem. We'll go against anybody, and we have the track record to prove it. Big days, big pools, and select days all year long. We'll outplay them all. Looking for an ace? You're in the right place. Want to find that diamond? Be with us. Want to know more? Just ask a member or visit us at pastthewire.com and check out the tracking trips page. Nobody does it better. Ciao Tutti, ciao Gio.
Ciao, what's up, my man? Ciao to everybody.
It's that time of year that, if you're a horse racing fan and you're not starting to get a little bit of the Derby fever itch, I don't even know why you're paying attention to this game. Past the Wire's Kentucky Derby Radar, Episode 3. I'm lucky to have Gio with me here tonight. The first two I kind of had to do solo. And it's always more fun having you or Big Race Jim or having somebody that I enjoy being with on the show, and especially somebody who brings the kind of knowledge and enthusiasm that you do. Now, I'm going to lead off with something a little interesting. We'll talk a little bit about the Derby. Then we're going to deep dive the Sam Davis, which is a Derby prep, and the big 3-year-old race this week at Tampa, where we're going to go over every horse in the race and who we like, who we don't like, and why. But knowing we were going to do the show today, I was driving and I was thinking, they say the Derby, the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. I'm not going to argue with that, especially being a horse racing guy, But a lot of people say it's one of the most difficult races to win. And it is. And I put it right up there with races like the Arc de Triomphe, the Melbourne Cup. I mean, those races, they're overseas, so they don't get as much attention as maybe the Derby does here, but they are extremely difficult races to win. but I'm going to start naming some names of something that I just find odd. Mage, Rich Strike, Mandaloon, Country House, Always Dreaming, Orb, Super Saver, Mind That Bird. That goes back to about 2009, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 horses.
I'm going to give you a common denominator with all of them.
I know, I know you are. I know you're going to get it right away.
After they won the Kentucky Derby, they never found the winning circle again.
Lily T. I don't even remember when that was, but just so many. You know, Mystic Dan might be the next one. You know, it's just like an oddity to me. You know, next week, what I want to talk about when we talk about our Derby Radar is another, well, not really an oddity, but I want to talk about, and you could look this up during the week, 2 or 3 horses that got in so much trouble in the Derby, you've got no doubt in your mind they would have won had they had a clean trip. But they just never, it isn't, because I got a couple in my mind that I remember. But that's for next week. This is such a tough race to win, and yet so many horses win it, and that's it. Do you think that's coincidence, or do you think it's that it takes so much early effort to be ready for that race that just some horses are just afterwards just spent and never the same?
Okay, what happened with the horses that you mentioned, all those colts, right? I don't think either one of them in any regard were quote unquote great horses, dynamic horses.
But they're Derby winners.
You're right. But they defeated horses who ended up being dynamic later on in their 3-year-old campaign. It just happened last year, for example. You know, we had 2 horses that they wowed me significantly prior to the Derby, and they didn't get it done in the Derby, but look at the seasons they had, and that's Fierceness and Sierra Leone. But I knew in my blood and bones that Rich Strike, God bless him, he pulled it off 80-1. I knew that horse, he pulled something special off. He won the Kentucky Derby, but I knew that he wasn't a special horse.
Yeah, no, and a lot, I felt that way about a lot of them, and there have been horses over the years that have fooled me. Fierceness didn't win the Derby, but he certainly fooled me as a 3-year-old. I didn't think he was as good as you and a lot of other people did. I've still got my reservations about him. I don't know what. California Chrome is another one I was dead wrong about. A lot of people loved him going into the Derby. He was high on everybody's list. I was like, I thought he had no shot. Now with him, I kind of got even because I loved Tonalist in the Belmont, and I finally got to cash a nice ticket against him. But I'll be the first to admit I definitely underestimated him. Yeah. Going into this year's race, there's a lot of people that have asked me about some of the horses on my Derby Radar list and who's making it and who's not and why. It's my list. I look for certain things. I look more for, what I think they're doing and what direction I think they're heading, as opposed to what they've already done. I'm looking for a horse that's going to be peaking or getting better at that time of the year, under the conditions that they're going to run. And that's why trainer plays a big part in who makes it and doesn't make it to my list early on, because, certain trainers are more adept at getting a horse to peak at the right time, for a certain race. My list is pretty short, and, I'm happy to say, like people ask me about the Brad Cox horse that ran into Smarty Jones. I forget his name for the minute. How could that horse not be on your list? He's just not, and he didn't run well in the Smarty Jones. He may bounce back, but Treaty of Rome is a horse that after they stretched him out the first time was on my list. I loved him last time out at Gulfstream. He come up a neck short at 11-1. He runs in the Sam Davis. We'll talk more about him when we dissect the race, but him, journalism, McVeigh, the Rick Dutrow horse who scratched out of the Withers or whatever it was, the Jerome, and Chance of McPatrick. I'm excited for him to come back. I think he's going to stretch out and come back good, but he's already getting to the point where, Well, maybe just Bluegrass Derby. That's a little tough. Maybe Bluegrass Preakness. Chad, he likes to take that, Derby prep. And then if they're not quite ready to run that race, he'll go for the Preakness. And if he's got Treaty of Rome heading into the Derby strong, it's more of a, I guess, incentive to do that. So, may change after this weekend. Poster runs on Saturday in that race. A lot of people are high on him. Somebody asked me and commented, how is he not on your list? I'll discuss that when we get to him. But, I'm very high on Journalism, very high on Treaty of Rome right now. Those are the two horses that I'm really most high on. The other one is Barnes. Barnes, who knows how good he is. And, Baffert with speed on the first Saturday in May. Good luck trying to catch him, So I'm not deep.
That's interesting, John. First things first, I was busting to add a comment from what you opened with. One thing about the Kentucky Derby, always, sure, when there's greatness, they almost always go on and run big in the Preakness, or if they skip the Preakness, they run big at the Belmont. However, many times it's the dreaded post positions and the dreaded trips, because that could take a horse like Mo Donegal. A few years ago, Mo Donegal probably ran a quarter of a mile more than any other horse in the race, or at least an eighth. And I knew in my blood and bones, and I believe you did too, that he was going to win the Belmont Stakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a great example of just a trip that cost the horse everything. And
yeah,
I mean, I think he was the biggest lock in the Belmont in the past 10 years, maybe.
Now, who's on my radar? All right, the GeoCity radar. And one of the things I spoke to you about offline, it's sort of inconclusive right now, because obviously we have some essentially important races in February, March, right? And of course that first week in April. But more importantly, with many of them, I'm very big. The reservations I've had for many, many years was, one of the things I needed a colt to have was a race as a juvenile. I've changed somewhat because there's been many examples. One you mentioned, Mage, who ended up winning. He didn't run as a juvenile. And Justify won the Triple Crown. Right. However, going back to the Apollo and the regimen of a colt having the seasoning as a juvenile, even if it's just one race, and then coming back into his 3-year-old campaign, I always feel that's a benefit. However, the horses that are mostly on my radar right now, okay, my top 3, and then one I'm going to agree with you is my 4th. And I could go very deep, but we talked about going over our top 3. In my top 3, I'm still very high on Bullard. Bullard gave me the wow effect. Granted, his first 2 wins were at 7 furlongs, and he got perfect setups. But the way he won, in one of the races, he broke rather lethargically, and he just circled everybody like they were sitting still.
Didn't they go 21-43 to the half?
Yeah. So he did get perfect setups. I'm not worried that Barnes beat him in the last race at Santa Anita. That was January 4th, just turned 3. I'm looking forward to the next race. I want to see Bullard go 2 turns, and I have no reservations on how he's built physically. I love his physicality, and he's a gun runner. So I'm still very high on him. I actually doubled up on my future wager with him because I saw the line went up after Barnes beat him. Next horse, and I think everybody will, I'm surprised you didn't mention him. I know you were impressed with the race, but I'm very high on Bill Mott's horse, Silverenti. The way that horse circled the field, broke glass, sat on the rail, circled the field at Churchill. Remember, that was on mile and a 16th. For him to show that type of effort early on in his 3-year-old campaign, I think he's got another 1 or 2 going forward. So he's on my radar. It gave me the wow effect. I want to have the wow effect. Also, two others, because I won't be too long-winded. I do respect Barnes, even though I have a reservation about Barnes going 2 turns and being a true 1.25 mile horse. I think Bob's got a couple others that could be more suitable at 1.25 miles.
One thing about Bob is he's always got a couple of others.
Yeah, he does.
He's got a barn full of Ferraris.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, he's got one that's already in. We all know Citizens Bull has already achieved enough points. He's in. He's entered.
Right. And so far he's not on either one of our lists. So that's interesting.
He's not. So last I wanted to mention was East Avenue. Here's why.
Okay.
In that race at the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, that Citizens Bull actually got a perfect opportunity to seize. That's why he went wire to wire. Gaming it was a bob race. Not only did East Avenue break as bad as you could break, got dirt in his face, but Jonathan's Way didn't run his race. I think you're going to see something special out of East Avenue because what he did his first 2 races, that's not by mistake. I really feel that East Avenue is going to step up and he's going to become a horse that's going to be a major presence on many radars out there.
I'll tell you what I'm worried about with East Avenue, and we differ in a couple of things. Same reason I was against Bullard. Okay, when East Avenue won and beat Ferocious at the end of the year at Keeneland, I bet him that day. I liked him. I put him on tracking trips. I liked him. I think he might have been to Shore Bed Coffee Play. I bet him that day. I liked him a lot. I thought he was the only speed that day. I think he was coming out of a sprint, stretching out. And I bet against him in the Breeders' Cup. The horse I bet didn't win, but I bet against him in the Breeders' Cup off the perfect trip. Same way I bet Barnes against Bullard off the perfect Bullard trip. I'm not sold yet on East Avenue because I haven't seen him. For the Derby, I want to see a horse I've seen. Take a little adversity, not have things go perfectly his way. If you look at Bond's first race, he did everything he could to try and lose that race at Churchill.
Very green. He was very green.
Right. And he won anyway. They straightened him out for the next race against Bullard, and he kind of showed what that $1.7 million price tag buys. So East Avenue, yeah, he may come back really good, but until I see that he could sit, this year it looks like a lot of the Derby prospects have speed. Looks like there's going to be a lot of early speed in the Derby this year, Why I'm leaning the closers. I like Journalism, Treaty Around. I'm leading to those horses that don't need to worry about whether there's pace or whether they're, getting their chops broken, through the first quarter or first half mile, 3/4 of a mile, whatever the case may be. And those are my knocks on. That's my knock on East Avenue, or concern on East Avenue. Now he may come back, sit third, blow by him, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, this horse grew up and he's not a need to lead kind of horse.
I think he may have enough talent to be versatile, same as Jonathan's Way. That's why the next race coming up for both those guys is going to be instrumentally important. Let me ask you something, John. You're wearing a Godolphin blue hat, which I love. I got my Rascal hat on. Since you're wearing a hat, were you wowed? Because I really was. And you know me, I watched more races probably than anybody, probably second to you, or we're on an equal team in terms of how many races. You weren't as wowed as I was with Silverenti. The way that horse swept the field at Churchill Downs.
Yes. I'm not going to say that I wasn't wowed, but I wasn't ready to put him with those other ones yet. Now, he's definitely one that I can't wait to see him run again. And he may be right there with these other ones because he certainly fits the mold of a horse that doesn't need things his own way and doesn't have to worry about speed. You know what I mean? Being hounded. I have a feeling, and again, it's early. We all know that it's early, but I just got a feeling there's going to be a lot of a decent pace and a lot of speed horses in the Derby this year that might just be need to lead types, and we can cross them out because they're going to get a lot of pressure. But we'll see, and we'll learn a lot about Treaty of Rome on Saturday, who's very, very high on my list.
Yeah,
You know,
he's getting to be on my list too because he has that style, and if he moves forward, we're going to talk about him for in the Sam Davis. Now, one of the horse let's mention for our viewers, Burnham Square. Now, I kind of like it's like a sensitive story because I like to see Ian Wilkes in that public's eye, and that horse surprised me. But I watched him his gallop out. He looked strong at Gulfstream.
No argument. He did. He ran a good race. There's no question about it. We know that. I'm not sold on him or that field. Ferocious didn't really show anything, and a lot of people are jumping off his bandwagon. He's a mystery to me right now. I'm not ready to say he's not a grade 1 type 3-year-old yet. I've got my questions. I've got my reservations for sure. And I was definitely disappointed last time, but I'm not ready to just say, you know what, he ain't no good. We'll see. But let's talk. Let's get into the Sam Davis. I mean, I think it's a great race, and although the Tampa Bay Derby, like the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, is not exactly a breeding ground for Kentucky Derby winners, I love horses that race at Tampa and then go to other tracks because Tampa's a deep, quirky type surface that I believe legs horses up really good, gets them fit, and I think eventually you're going to get a Tampa Bay, Derby winner. I think Street Sense might have run there before the Derby. I don't even remember. I think he ran into maybe the Tampa Bay Derby, then the Bluegrass. I don't remember. But a lot of horses haven't won the Derby from Tampa. But I think they can. And one of them.
It's interesting you mentioned it because it is a deep surface, and many horses who ran well in the Tampa Bay Derby didn't run well in the Kentucky Derby for different reasons. But then later on in Big Sandy, for the Belmont, when Belmont was Belmont, they ran well there. A horse that comes to mind, I believe, is Tacitus. Remember Tacitus?
Absolutely.
He won the Tampa Bay Derby. I believe he did.
He did, yes.
He ran well. But, that's where you seal up. So that's a good point. It's a good point.
And I'll tell you on an unrelated note, but a good note for people that like to pay attention to angles, okay? Everybody watches Gulfstream Park and the championship meet, all right? I've been making scores on horses that run at Tampa, not at Gulfstream, on the dirt, and then come back and run at Aqueduct and Belmont when they have the spring meet and things are kind of like heating up for the Belmont Stakes, and it's kind of exciting in New York racing. And those Tampa horses, they get ignored. The Gulfstream horses get pounded because everybody thinks, oh, those are where the good horses are. Those Tampa horses get overlooked all the time, and they pop left and right when they hit those regular racetracks. And it's just a great angle to follow. It will pay dividends for sure.
It is. And one other note, because most people know if you follow on the calendar, and if you guys follow me at Steady Better Days, today I gave I thought it was a cool cheat sheet, giving you all the points prep races all the way up until the Lexington, which ends it on April 12th. So the Sam F. Davis that we're going to deep dive right now is the only one this weekend that's going to register points.
Okay. You want to start with number 1, Camp Hale?
Yeah, I'll lead off. Okay. So in this Sam F. Davis, of course, we have a field of 10. And we're going to take you from the rail all the way to the 10 post, and we're going to offer our thoughts on each. All right. So Camp Hale, I do like 2 things about him. I like that he had the 2 races as a juvenile, and he came back. He stretched out at Gulfstream Park for the mile and was competitive. There's another Ian Wilkes horse. It's a Motown. I'm not a big fan of geldings in this spot. The horse has shown promise. He debuted breaking from an outside post, was well bet both his second and his third races. But when I compared him to the others in the field, he is a maiden going against winners. Did I rule out him not being competitive at all? No. But my final analysis on Camp Hale, because I'm a BJ Hernandez fan, I think he'll be competitive. He may, because there's a lot of pace in this race, and he may have to be forward early. I think the race is going to be won from off the pace, and I don't see him as one doing that. So I have him in a very deep slotted gimmick. I ranked him 5th on my grid. So I have him rated in my precise order 5th out of the 10 horses. I don't think he could win, but strictly for underneath exotics.
All right. I kind of feel the same way about him. I don't think he's the winner. I think he could get a very good trip on the rail. He was bet like he was supposed to win the last 2 times, and he couldn't seal the deal. I'm not sold on how good that last field at Gulfstream when he went that mile was or wasn't. But I think, there's at least a couple in here that, I would have to use before him. I don't like him in the win hole at all.
Yeah, like I said, and you're going to start with Treaty of Rome. I think there's only 4 horses that could win this race, and I'll mention them when we go over each. But and then, of course, who I land on is my top 2. But only in my opinion, 4 out of the 10 have the ability to win this. I'll say that right now. Okay, John, start us off with Treaty of Rome.
Obviously, I like Treaty of Rome a lot. I bet him last time at 11-1. I thought he had a little bit of a wide trip. He looked beat at one point in the race and then kind of found a second gear late and was really coming at the end. Another jump or 2, he gets up for sure. Maybe just one. I thought it was an excellent race. And, really a horse coming off the pace. He did sit closer than I thought he was going to that day. But it's tough to come off the pace at Gulfstream, especially going a mile. It really is. A wide closer coming off the pace, going a mile at Gulfstream. I upgrade a race like that. So I think Treaty of Rome, who I believe is got 2 turns written all over him. I know he's an Uncle Mo, but on the bottom side, there's plenty of distance there. Coolmore bred horse. Well, he's Oppendale, but Coolmore owns him. But I just think he's getting sold short by a lot of people, and I think as they get longer, he's got a perfect sit off the pace style to run. I love the fact that Dylan Davis keeps the mount for Chad. Dylan's riding great, making the most of his chances. I think the horse has nothing but upside. I love his last work at Payson Park leading into the race, and in my book, he's absolutely the horse to beat. I think 6-1 on the morning line is ridiculous. I don't know why this horse gets no respect, but he's got mine. Absolutely. I think he's a major player, and I think he's the horse to beat.
All right, John. By the way, just so I know, because it's interesting, it's who I land on as well. Is he a single to you, or you feel others can win? When you get to them, I'm sure you'll elaborate.
Yeah, I'll elaborate. There's one horse that scares me, but you brought out a very interesting point already that kind of negates that fear a little bit. So I would have to say 90% chance at this point he winds up a single for me.
Okay. All right. Well, my turn. This is pretty good for the viewers because, again, this is another stakes race. It's a $250,000 stakes race. I don't know why the form's not listing as a grade 2 or grade 3. Isn't it a graded stakes?
It is not listed as one, so I have to assume no.
Just listed. Okay. But like I said, we know it's a big race, the only one in town. We're going 2 turns. Okay. I, too, landed on Treaty of Rome, but I will say at this point that I know I'm using 3 horses in my pick 5. But my top choice is Treaty of Rome. To add to what John shared, first of all, I totally trust Dylan Davis having this opportunity to ride for Chad Brown, coming back on the horse. I feel this is a race packed with aggressive, tactical, and raw speed. There's going to be speed. It's going to be moderate to fast. It is a deep course. Even though the horse is an Uncle Mo, I'd like to see a little more pedigree on the sire side for later on distance, because John's got this guy on his radar for the Kentucky Derby. He hasn't made my radar for the Derby yet, but in this race, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him because I feel, in viewing his 3 races, I like that he raced as a juvenile, those 2 races. His last race, he could have easily won. He re-rallied, and he just missed, and that would have been a wonderful score for John to just miss at 11-1. But in my opinion, he had a lot more to offer from that race. I think he moves forward. If he runs his best, he's going to be an absolute handful. He should sit a good trip, and I trust Dylan Davis. So, yeah, Treaty of Rome. Not going to leave him off my ticket. He's my top choice.
All right. John Hancock, you're up.
All right. Hancock was one of the 4 horses in this field of 10 who I felt could win, that I would not be surprised if he did win. Obviously, now in my precise order, he's my 4th choice. So I have 2 in front of him, and he's underneath Treaty of Rome. What I was compelled with John Hancock, obviously one thing that rings your bell right away is that you're switching to Flavien Prat. He's up for Cox. That race at Tampa, confidence, well bet, son of Constitution, sort of won in easy fashion. I didn't, and by the way, there was a slight, the angle of the replay, you can't see it, but the form says he hopped at the start. So he didn't have that go-get-him geared start. Nice looking colt. He's going to be one of the ones with speed. And here's where you got to trust the jockey. There's going to be others running and gunning. Flavien Prat, he's going to know he's got horse here. I don't feel he wants this horse on the lead. He's gonna be comfortably sitting around the first turn. And then he should have enough. I see him going forward. He ran an 81 buyer. It's his 2nd start, but I really feel he's built for this race. So a contender, he's my 4th choice and one of the 4 who I feel can win this race.
Interesting, because he's the one that I'm afraid of.
Oh, okay.
If I use anyone other than Treaty of Rome, it's going to be him. He's the only other one that I'm really worried about. And I think he might be, and you're right about Pratt. Pratt is very smart, and Cox is great at getting a horse, a sprinter to relax and sit off another horse and still run. Usually a horse like this, I'll only bet, I think, if they're going to clear, coming out of that sprint and just, wire these horses up. And I think he might be fast enough, quote, that's saying the speed of the speed. I think he might be fast enough to do that and be that. And I think if he does choose that route and clears this field, he becomes very, very, very dangerous. I'm afraid of him. I respect him. I respect everything about him. I liked his debut race. I think it was fast. He's got the benefit of that race over this racetrack. Then he trains at Payson Park, another heavy surface.
Yeah.
So no way he's going to be short. He does come off Lasix. Is that important? Probably not that important. But,
he just stole my thunder. I was going to say that, and he doesn't have a second race. He didn't race as a juvenile.
Right. So I'm afraid of him. He looks like he could be a very talented colt. Pratt gets the mount. Pratt's got a lot of options this time of year, I'm sure. And he's riding. So I respect and fear him. He's my 2nd choice.
Okay. Hey, listen. So the respect is on John Hancock from both of us. I have him ranked a little lower as my 4th choice. He's your 2nd choice. I want you to lead off with Dr. Ruben M.
Okay. I'll be brief with Dr. Ruben M. I think, he can make a little noise for maybe a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, kind of trying to hang in there, but I think when the real running starts, he won't be the one doing it. So short and sweet, not on my ticket. I don't think he's good enough to win the race.
Okay, cool, John. Yeah, I don't think he's good enough to win the race.
He is coming out of a key race. He is coming out of that Springboard Mile where Cold Battle and Speed King both come back to win big races at Oaklawn. So I'm not missing that. I'm not sold on them, and I'm not sold on him.
Yeah. So the plus part, I don't think he could win the race. And the reason why he didn't make my handicap, because others were more appealing, he's a West Coast shipper. I like Doug O'Neill. I like the aggressiveness. Bring this horse, from the West Coast. His last was impressive. Definitely a speedy type of horse. Son of Vina Rosso. So I don't have reservations about the distance either in terms of how he progresses in his career. But in this spot, because he's had 5 tries to make me say, wow. 5 tries, and he hasn't run fast enough to compete with the horses I like the most. So I don't think he's going to move forward enough to beat those that I like more who have run faster than him. So nice colt, should have a future. Not for me on Saturday.
Okay. Gatekeeper.
I'll lead off for Gatekeeper.
Go right
Gatekeeper, yeah, I'll be quick with this guy. Not much ability. 2 races to review, both in Arkansas. They did stretch him out. I thought he would be much improved. In my trained eyes, he wasn't really improved at all. So even though they bet him, I felt like he would take a big step forward in that race. He failed. You're asking this horse to do a lot. I don't even have the morning lines, but if I had to make a morning line on this guy, I'd probably put 30-1 in this field.
You're spot on. He's 30-1 in the morning line.
Check that out. I'm telling you, my form's got no morning line. So okay.
30-1. I could cut my thought on him to 5 words.
Okay.
If he wins, I lose.
That's great. Yeah, he was near the bottom of the barrel for me. I mean, look, he had to show me more in his second start. He didn't. In fact, he looked less imposing in his second start, and I could never take a horse off that type of effort. Yeah.
Am I up or you up? Owen Almighty.
You're up with Owen Almighty. I have a lot to say about Owen Almighty too, but you go.
Okay. All right. Owen Almighty, he's the 2-1 morning line favorite, deservedly so. Makes a lot of sense. I had a hard time tossing him. And just so people understand, Gio and I have a little bit of a different approach. When I say tossing him, I'm not saying that I don't see what everybody else sees, that he can very easily win this race. Okay. I see that. I study the horses and been playing the horses a long time. So when I say it, I'm talking for me personally, I'm betting against him for my own reasons, which I'll get into. Doesn't mean I don't realize that he could absolutely win the race and beat me, because he certainly can. I think he's the right favorite. I think he will be the post-time favorite, but I think Treaty of Rome is going to beat him down the lane. I always worry. I know he got disqualified last time. He came in on that other horse on the backside.
Cost me money. Came in on rookie card.
Right.
Rookie card was going to win that day, in my opinion.
Right. That horse I like got left in the gate or lost his jock.
Yeah, lost his jock.
Right. I was betting against him that day. He won. I watched that replay 3 or 4 times. I wasn't that impressed. I watched his 2-year-old races. He won, but I wasn't all that impressed. He's okay. He makes sense. I could see why people will like him. I worry about them putting blinkers on a horse off a win, even though it's a DQ win. I don't know he's going to be the same on blinkers. I think that may sharpen him up a little bit and bring him into the speed sooner, which is not, I think, ideal for the way this race shapes up. So he can win. He's a nice colt. He makes a lot of sense, but as the favorite, I'm betting against him. And I, bottom line, think Treaty of Rome is able to outfinish him down the lane regardless. So why would I bet him? That's just my opinion. Can he win? Absolutely. Do I respect him? Absolutely. No.
So one question for you, because I started off our show saying I feel only 4 horses in this field could win out of the field of 10. Is he one of the 4? Because he's my third choice. And I'm gonna
I know. He's got to be one of the 4. If you're going 4D, he would have to be one of the 4.
All right. So Owen Almighty's my third choice. So obviously I like Treaty of Rome and a horse I haven't gotten to yet more than him. So the pluses, and by the way, that race, you players out there, fans of the game, I had a robust wager on Rookie Card that day, and I'm still feeling it. I hate when I lose like that. I love Irad for his tenacity and his aggressiveness, but he really just wiped Rookie Card off right out of the race. That's why he was DQ'd. And Rookie Card got shuffled back, and it cost me probably about $2,000 based on my win money. But anyway, Irad's back. One ingredient here, John. This guy is a juvenile, and as a 3-year-old, his buyers are fast. 83 on debut, 84, 86, and 87. His thoroughgraph is probably consistent as well, too. So the horse has demonstrated the talent and the ability to win a race like this and to go forward again. He always got bet. He was second to Jonathan's Way. I did not have the morning line, so you say his favorite. Irad up for Brian Lynch, who's a very underrated conditioner.
Not by me.
Yeah, by a lot of folks. You know, he's not in the national scope of folks that should recognize him. He's got a nice stable, nice barn. I do see Irad making decisions in the stretch. And yeah, he's one of the 4 who I think could win. He's my third choice. And at the end of this, I'll give you my full 6 precise order. 4 of them I will not use. 6 will be used. 2 of them only underneath, only 4 could win. So contender, gotta trust Irad, training well, should get a good trip. I just think 2 others are more appealing. One of them I've already given you, the 2.
All right, just for information purposes, he run a 6 1/4 last time out at Tampa. Treaty of Rome run a 6. Just a flat, straight 6 in the race at Gulfstream. So Treaty of Rome run a little faster, but you know these horses at this time of year are moving forward in big ways anyway. So
hey John, since you had the morning lines, what was John Hancock's morning line?
3-1.
3-1. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Second choice, 3-1.
All right, let's move forward. You want me to lead with Poster?
Absolutely.
All right, Poster. A lot of high regard for Mr. Setti. So you guys heard about my third choice, and I gave you my top choice. Poster is my second choice. Poster, in my opinion, is the biggest threat to who I land on, Treaty of Rome up front as top choice, and I'm undoubtedly using Poster in my pick 5. I got to make a game time decision if I go 3 or 4 deep, but I'm definitely using Poster. Here's why. First thing first, I know Pratt is not on him. He went to Brad Cox. A business decision for him. But listen, Poster is 3 for 3. The talent is there. To win his first 2 on the lawn, 2 different turf courses at Ellis Park and Keeneland. But what was most telling is how he took everybody by surprise. He surprised me when he came and ran at Aqueduct before the year was out. So he's making his 3-year-old debut. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Antonio Garado, you don't lose much with him. He's not Flavian Pratt, but Antonio Garado's a jock that really knows the Tampa Bay Oval well, exceptionally well. He's a strong rider there.
He's one of the leading riders there every year, perennial.
Yeah, he knows it. So the fact that he's a Munnings, Godolphin Blue, started his career on the turf, never sprinted. Obviously, I feel he's built for the distance, and the connections felt he was built for the distance. His last race was very telling. For him to me, surprised me that day, just get up, win the Remsen Grade 2. I think he's primed, especially since the way he's training, and he has a workout not only in the synthetic at Turfway Park, but then he works out at Tampa Bay, and I like the breeze. It's a bullet breeze. It was the number one breeze that day. So dangerous, should get a good trip, 3 for 3. I wouldn't be shocked if he's 4 for 4. I just like Treaty of Rome a little better because I think he's got an abundance of talent that we haven't seen yet. And he may show up on Saturday like that.
I kind of feel the same way. Well, I feel the same way about Treaty of Rome, and I respect Poster, and I see everything that you're saying about him as well. Here's my knock, and here's why I decided not to use him. Okay, and it's funny because when I bet, I try to use less horses. I try and take it. You know my philosophy: cash less tickets, win more money. So instead of having it for 50 cents or $1, I throw a horse out. I could have it for $2, and when I'm right, I want to get paid. Here was what got me off Poster. You watch his race; it's visually impressive. For a first-time dirt horse, he made a really nice move. He's 3 for 3. He's won at 3 different tracks on 2 different surfaces. Distance, no problem. Connections, no problem. Ian Hardy's been around a lot of nice horses in his life. But when I look at that Remsen, it was a Grade 2. Tuck's come back and ran like garbage. Okay? Aviator Gui is just okay to me. And another jump gets him. Okay, he made that big move, looked like he put the field away, and then late, here comes Aviator Gui, and another jump gets him. So he could fool me and run big again and win. But I like Treaty of Rome better, and I'm more afraid of John Hancock, who Pratt went to, being the goods. So in the interest of cutting a ticket, using less horses and winning more money, I'm going to take a shot that because of that field being suspect, in my view, I'm going to go with the other 2, knowing that him and Owen Almighty might humble me and beat me, but I'll be doubled up. And if I'm right, I'll get paid with horses that are longer prices than these horses. So
John, I had to ask you one question because I plan on playing a rather robust exacta Treaty of Rome and Poster, and Treaty of Rome over Owen Almighty as a saver. But the angle here, I feel, and I'm glad you mentioned the barn. He's a smart horseman. And I'm guessing you trust Antonio Garado as well, knowing the course.
Absolutely.
But what was very compelling is the fact that they took this guy and trained him over the synthetic multiple times at Turfway Park. And you like that angle.
I've been telling everybody that angle's killer.
And then they give him a breeze at Tampa. He's demonstrating that he's in nice shape to make his 3-year-old debut.
No argument. But, I just think he's facing a little better horses than he's faced. So,
Okay.
Naughty Rascal. Who goes? You want to go?
You're the lead.
I'm the lead. Okay. Naughty Rascal's never really run a bad race. I mean, he's got 6 starts, 4 wins, a second, a third, never run bad. Second to Owen Almighty last time, but he's not the one that really had the trouble. 2 turns for the first time, I believe. No, the Gulfstream turf race is actually a 2-turn race, but 2 turns for the first time on the dirt. He sits a nice trip. I think he could run easily second, third, or fourth, but I just don't think he's as good as the other horses. Now, Gerald Bennett wins a lot of races at Tampa. He's a good, solid Tampa trainer, but Gonzalez is 3 out of 4 wins with this horse. He's got some positives. I just don't think he's as good as the other 2 that I like, or even the other 2, Owen Almighty and Poster, that we spoke about. So he might be, in my opinion, the 5th or 6th best horse in the race. So I'm not using him. I don't think he's going to win. But if he hits the board, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay, interesting. What do they have him as a morning line, by the way?
6-1, same price as Treaty of Rome, which I think is insanity.
Before I get into Naughty Rascal, and some of your viewers may find this interesting, John, I know you will. One more thing about Poster, I forgot to mention. After everything I said, I had one more footnote I didn't mention. He physically reminds me, and his performance over the track, as Catholic Boy. Do you remember Catholic Boy being a turfer? This goes back 6-7 years, I believe. And then Catholic Boy, as a 3-year-old, ended up winning the Travers.
Yes.
Coming off the turf. So a horse has the makeup reminding me of Catholic Boy, but a little earlier on. But it's that type of talent. I wanted to say one more thing about Poster. All right. So, and that's Poster, folks. So Naughty Rascal, if he's 6-1, to me, that's an automatic underlay. I'll tell you why. And I'm not using him. And I'm not even using him in my deeper gimmicks. Obviously, I'm always enamored with a horse who has a nose for the wire. He's 6 for 6 in the money, winning 4 times. Those are good things. And these are all stakes races. However, with all those accomplishments, and of course, I watched every one of his races, I wasn't impressed with a wow once. And remember, his second to Owen Almighty happened because my horse, Rookie Card, was shuffled back because Irad cut him off. So, nice horse, nose for the wire. I like Edwin Gonzalez, honest rider. Gerald Bennett wins a lot of races at Tampa. I just think this guy's a cut below, and I can't use him because of that.
No argument from me.
Yeah.
All right. Smoking Boy.
Should I lead?
Go ahead.
I got a lot to say about this guy, only in a way with a smile on my face. And as a horse player and a thoroughbred enthusiast, sometimes it bothers me when we get circumstances that we have to deal with like this. For many obvious reasons, he's a wild card. You got a horse, hear me out. You have a horse coming from Puerto Rico, all right? None of us know the degree and the quality of those fields. The horse is 3 times in the mud, wins 2 of the races as if he's the second coming of Seattle Slew. He was trained by Edwin Diaz, and now he ends up in the Jose D'Angelo bar. And then on top of everything, he's getting blinkers, and they got Paco Lopez. And I got one note. Listen, I'm not going to rip them apart, but I'm still bothered that Paco Lopez is racing and allowed to race this early. That his suspension, I felt he should have got 6 to 8 months minimum. I heard some owners saying that guy is not riding for me ever again. And I believe I could quote Rapoli said that. So I'm a little bothered to see Paco Lopez, and I'm bothered as a handicapper because what am I supposed to do here? Coincidentally, he's the son of Catholic Boy, who I just mentioned, who also reminds me. I mean, 3 times in the mud. He went 2 turns, if that is 2 turns in Puerto Rico. It's the only horse I couldn't watch the races on. Maybe I got to do some extra homework. I can't wait to hear what you have to say, John. I can't use him But obviously, the horse is a wild card because there's so many crazy angles there, and he's in a good barn now.
You know, a long time ago, a knowledgeable horseman, and this is something that's been proven true over and over. A good horse can come from anywhere. So just because he come from Puerto Rico and hadn't beaten anything, because there's not really a lot of quality horses over there, you know, he's winning by daylight. You could forgive the first race. He's head and head the whole way, gets beat. Could have been green. Could have been 1,000,001 reasons why that happened. He could be okay. You know, like you say, he's a mystery. He's a wild card. I'll take my chances against a horse like this because I do know the competition over there and the level of care and training over there is not, in my opinion, up to par and up to speed as over here. So if he wins, big surprise. But nobody who really knows and understands the game can sit and say, I'm shocked, because you really got no idea. And a good horse can come from anywhere. A loaded gun is dangerous in anybody's hands you put it in.
Correct. But there's one other ingredient here, John. I'm glad you supported what I was saying. I actually hope he scratched because on top of everything, he's got to get acclimated to the breeze at Tampa, the landscape, the clubhouse. You know, we don't even know what the track looks like over in Puerto Rico. To be honest with you,
I do.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
So,
it doesn't look good.
Okay. Yeah. So when I saw this, I said, my God, like I said, I jokingly said he won his last two in the mud like he's Seattle Slew. Now they're putting blinkers. He goes to a better barn, a barn that wins often. And of all people, he's got to get Paco Lopez on him. I'll be disgusted if this horse pulls something out of the hat. But I'm not using him. I'm sorry. I hope he scratches.
Well, always be careful saying things like that because racing is funny. It has a way of humbling us when we say things like that.
He wins, I will lose every one of my tickets. But like I said, what are you supposed to do? Guys, comment. You viewers there. If anybody, other than all the obvious things, the wild card nature, you know, what are you supposed to do?
If anybody likes him and is using him, I would love to see that in the comments.
Yeah, say it in the comments. Say it in the comments. Absolutely.
Very bold. Okay, you could hit cleanup and start with very bold.
I'll start with very bold in the 10 hole. Now this horse, you know, I said 4 horses could win. You guys got that. And you know who my top, my second, my third, my fourth, and my fifth, Campale. 10 is the horse that is the 6th choice on the Giosetti precise order. And there's no doubt in my mind, especially if a few others stop, this guy could easily hit your superfecta. He's my 6th choice, but I will be using him exclusively in my bottom supers and maybe even a couple saver triples. Here's why. First of all, I liked his makeup, everything leading into the race. His races as a juvenile, another jockey that knows Tampa way, Jesus Castanon. The barn is okay. It's a son of Union Rags. I have no reservations about the distance. He was in that race with the foul that Owen Almighty won. And, you know, of course, my rookie card got disqualified. So I know the race well. He's training at Tampa Bay well. You know, he also has workouts in his past on a synthetic. He's a son of Union Rags out of a Candy Ride mare. This horse is going to run late. So, in my opinion, he's well behind because he's not going to be in the thick of things through the first half or 3/4. But late, with a good trip, I think the 10 makes a run and could hit your deeper gimmicks, especially your superfecta. I
kind of agree. The 3rd or 4th, I think, would be, in my opinion, his ceiling here. I don't think he's good enough to win. He is the other Ian Hardy horse for Calumet Farm, but I think he's definitely the lesser of the two. So you know, I think you hit the nail on the head with minor award would be his ceiling.
Yeah,
But
you see him running late, especially if some of the horses who were up early and it's a fast pace, he could pass them.
Absolutely. More and more, and I don't know why it's a trend. We see it a lot on the grass, but you even see it on the dirt, and I don't know why the trend is that way. It's maybe, and this is big speculation. Maybe it's because the European horses are so successful when they come here, and they're generally not speed type horses. But so many of these races look like there's a ton of speed, and then they come out of the gate, and nobody goes, and all the speed horses are yanging back, and one horse winds up on a lead by himself when the past performance don't dictate that the race is going to be run that way. I think this race has a lot of pace, like you said, on paper. I think it should be a contested pace, whether it's fast or slow. That we'll see how the track is playing, but I think it should be a contested pace, and the race should set up for somebody sitting off of that and coming. And I think I'm hoping that it'll be impossible for everybody to kind of ignore Treaty of Rome and not have him higher on the list after the Sam Davis, because I think Dylan should get the job done and win it for Chad Brown.
Yeah, and Treaty of Rome, John, and I love the fact that you and I are both on him as a top choice here, and I'm sure our viewers like that. One thing that's very compelling, what do you think came first? Chad Brown is saying, Dylan, I trust you. He didn't. What came first? Did Cox grab Flavien Prat?
No, Dylan actually had that mount, because what happened was, Chad had told Dylan if he came to Florida in the winter, he would give him some shots, and that just wound up one of them. When a lot of people don't realize, when you have these good horses at this time of the year, okay, you kind of want a jockey that's going to stay with your horse and develop with the horse, with the horse.
Absolutely.
When you have a horse like Treaty of Rome and you go to Flavien Prat and his agent and say, hey, I want you to ride the horse in the Mucho Macho Man and the Sam Davis and the Bluegrass. You know what he's going to tell you? I'll ride him in the Mucho Macho Man. I ain't got nobody else, but I'm not committing past then because he's in such demand.
He's got Chance McPatrick, I believe, too, right?
Right. And he's in such demand, he can't afford to give you that kind of call. It's a one and we'll see. Not a one and done. It's a one and we'll see. Where on the other hand, a guy like Dylan Davis, who's looking to get a foot into a barn like Chad's barn, says, hey, I'll ride him here, I'll ride him there, and I'll ride him anywhere else you tell me, you want to run him. And in my opinion, I think there's a lot of value in that. And, I can't speak for other trainers or other people, but I think there are trainers that respect and appreciate that and like to work with guys like that and like to give people shots like that, that would mean a lot to me. You know what I mean? If I went to Pratt and I had what I thought was a really good horse and he said, hey, I'll ride him on Saturday because I ain't got no other calls. But after that, if I got nothing else, I'll take him back. Or if he runs real good, I'll take him back. But if not, no, thank you. You know what I mean? I wouldn't ride him. I don't care how good he is,
Yeah. Hey, listen,
like a loaded gun is dangerous in anybody's hands.
One of the things, John, I spoke to you about offline, and we know in terms of price, everybody who's watching knows this, the people that are going to be on Owen Almighty, you're going to pay an Irad Ortiz tax.
That's right. Mean, and there's a Pratt tax too.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we could have let me tell you something, a Treaty of Rome poster exacta could be nice capital.
No
With
doubt.
Hancock and Almighty filling up the triple and super.
No
that
doubt.
Could be sweet.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know how I'm going to approach the race yet, as far as pick 4, pick 5, win bet. I don't know this far out, but I do know Treaty of Rome is my horse and is my key. And if I do use anybody else, it'll be John Hancock, just because I think he might be good, and I don't want to let him beat me. But I'm pretty confident with Treaty of Rome. I think he's going to run a big race. I really do, and I think it's going to be hard for people to ignore him coming out of this race.
Yeah, and like I said, if he gets the job done, and I know in my blood and bones, he will move forward from his last. That's what I see. That's what's most important. Because, some people handicap, they say, you know what? He's got a few races, but he hasn't run as fast as some of the others. That's because he wasn't ready to run that fast yet.
I agree.
He's going to be in the low 90s on the bias scale, and I could see him improving to a 3, maybe even a 2 on the thoroughgraph.
All right. Good show, good talk, good catching up. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you like the show, please hit the like button. It means a lot to us. If you enjoy the channel, subscribe. That means even more to us. We appreciate you all. We see you all. We see who hits the like. We see everything. So, we love the support. We appreciate you all, and we'll be back with Kentucky Derby Rada 4 and a lot more before you know it. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, everybody. Stay well. Take care of your families. God bless you.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses.
His name is Cyberknife!
Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
World of Kingdom Nutrition, your #1 source for healthy horses and fast finishes. Make sure your horses stay strong and healthy with the balanced mineral profile of Healthy Bones. This veterinarian recommended supplement helps foals, weanlings, and yearlings grow and develop. Healthy Bones also helps speed up recovery so your horses stay in training longer and race more often. Our 100% all-natural Appetite supplement helps relieve sensitive stomachs so that your horses can eat up and get faster on the track. Kingdom Nutrition. We stand by our products with a 100% money-back guarantee. Call Justin today because Kingdom Nutrition makes healthy horses and fast finishes. Welcome to Past the Wire TV, your #1 source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Past the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Luis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better.